Hello, hello, and welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and Tuesdays, I think, are my favorite day of the week. It's the day before hump day and 2 days post weekend, but it's also the day that I get the opportunity to spend quality time with amazing women. So Kim Talks Resilience is all about sharing inspiring stories and insight by resilient women globally, women who can help us all maybe that little bit forward and get a little bit more out of life. So I actually, even though my next guest is like a country away, I actually got to sit down and have coffee with this gal. You are in for a treat. Janine Bolon, absolutely awesome gal, has always loved figuring out how things work. A scientist from the beginning, she craved to dig into the mysteries of life and understand why things are the way they are. After working in the pharmaceutical industry for 15 years, she dropped out of corporate America to homeschool her 4 kids. This we're going to talk about too. She has always had a side business in her life and shares with other business owners and creatives how to manage a well-lived life of children, family, friends, and clients while not suffering from burnout. Her 12 books, just a few, 15 online courses, 4 podcast programs, and a syndicated radio show all express her desire to share her systems and routines with others. So everybody give a warm welcome to my friend Janine. Hello, Janine. Welcome. We had a little traffic getting here tonight. So
just a little traffic.
Thank you,
It's that crossing the border problem that we have.
They're checking her luggage, making sure she's not smuggling in one of those kids.
I had mirrors under the trunk. I don't know what that was all about.
I actually have been in the X-ray border coming back once. Yes,
Yeah.
They got me for shampoo from Target, but that's a story for another night.
Okay.
So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well tonight. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this all day, so I'm so glad we finally are here.
I just so everybody knows, Janine is a guru in the podcasting world, but she is beyond that in the sense that everything that I just read out in her bio is absolutely true. She will take time for somebody who she doesn't actually know, and she will actually sit and have coffee, and she'll introduce them to the family, and she'll give you a hug. Like, she'll give you a hug. Even post-COVID, she didn't even require my immunization record. She just gave me a hug.
So I figured if you were coming across the border, you weren't going to be spreading.
I was safe.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to dive in. I want you to share with the audience who you are, and please do talk about homeschooling 4 kids, because I could put my kids in school 12 hours a day, and I couldn't do the other 3. They were home.
But I understand that, homeschooling isn't for everybody. So to give people a little bit of background, because you and I were able to have coffee. And by the way, absolutely one of my favorite memories. We were in Cheyenne, Wyoming. She was headed south, I was headed north, and it was amazing that we were able to connect that way. But one of the things that I thought was important that your people know about is that I was totally a career woman. Okay. It was 1996. So this lets you know the era I was in. It's 1996. I was working in a pharmaceutical company. I was working on antivirals because at that time, AIDS and HIV was a big thing. And we were trying to come up with antiviral compounds. Surprise, viruses. Trying to come up with antivirals to help people out. And anyway, and all of a sudden, my husband and I went on a trip and I got a flu that wouldn't go away. Now, after 10 years of marriage, you just don't jump to, oh, I may be pregnant. No, that's not where you go. I was pregnant. I had this flu that wouldn't go away. And so when I realized, oh my gosh, after 15 years of working in the pharmaceutical industry, being a high tech, I was working on automation, robotics, and method development labs all over the world. I realized, you know what? I don't want to be that kind of mom because in that time, we did not have the benefits that we do now when you work in corporate America. You didn't have maternity leave. You didn't have all these things. You had 14 sick days. That was
Mhm.
what you could take. And and then you would have to figure out how you were going to take care of the baby and I couldn't be that kind of mom
Yeah.
where we were in society at that time. I dropped out of corporate America because I was going to homeschool. Now, I thought this was going to be my only child because, like, after 10 years, I think the dam burst or something because over the course of the next 6 years, I my husband even had cancer and was like and he was being told, "Look, do you have all the children that you think you want? Because this may damage, your ability to reproduce." We had 2 more children even after that. So it was one of those things where you're just like, "Wow, the dam broke."
Okay, everybody wants to know. The burning question is here: boxers or briefs? Like what?
It didn't seem to matter. To
So,
be quite
and
frank.
I met your kids. They're very, very lovely. They're
Oh, thank
nice
you.
human
I
beings. You've
I
done a
loved
good
having them
job.
around. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, because I really like hanging with my kids, and a lot of people are, like, telling me, "Oh, you must be an empty nester," and I'm like, did you not go through the last 2 years? Because college is shut down. Guess who came home?" So, yeah, my kids are at that college level, right? And so they all came home, and I have to say, though, I'm thrilled because I enjoyed being able to hang out with them for a couple extra years, unlike some other things, but anywho, but for your people, one of the things that was important to me was homeschooling the 4 kids, and so I got my master's in education, so while they were learning, I was learning, and that was kind of what I shared with them was, "Look, we're gonna be learning together how this whole life thing works, and we're gonna constantly be renegotiating our relationship on how you want things to move forward." So, I basically put them in charge of their education. Well, while all this was happening, technology was growing. And so I was able to get on the computer and we had resources and tools. It's actually quite overwhelming what we have now relative to what we did back then. And being able to set things up and come up with this thing called YouTube hit in about 2005, 2006. And I was so excited about what was going on. I decided to join up and I became an audio blogger. And that's what they called us because it was Blog Talk Radio. Remember the intro and everything they used to have in early 2000s? And they didn't know what to call us because we weren't really radio because we weren't broadcasting. We weren't cable, right? Because we were over the internet. They had no idea what to call us. And, Wi-Fi hadn't been invented yet or any of that. So I was an audio blogger. And then it wasn't until 2011 that we were actually starting to be called podcasters. And so I've been in the business of broadcasting since 1987 when I started in high school. So when you talk about podcasters and stuff like that, it's just because I've been in the business so long.
So, okay, so I have well, I got to go back to these kids one more time. I just think what you did is awesome. Um, because you not only were going to school while raising these children and being very visible. Most children, not most children, a lot of children up to, I would say, the last few years have been raised where they don't really know what mom does. And your kids have seen you work. Now, right now, we are going through the second wave of the resignation generation of women. And so these women are going, I'm not going to go back. Google wanted to force everybody back and they lost one of their top head honchos. So, these types of things are happening. And what are the benefits you saw allowing your children to actually see the work it goes into your success?
Um, I'm going to start off with something that started off as a little thing and actually became a huge thing. And it was I made sure I never used the word "I'm busy." I always wanted to be approachable to my children, and because I made that choice early on in their education of because somebody would say, "Oh, yeah, but your mom's busy," and I'm like, "I'm never too busy for my kids." I was constantly saying that. It was like, I am highly scheduled. I'm highly engaged.
I
I
like
have a
that.
lot of activities that I'm participating in, but I would never say I'm busy because I never wanted the message for them to be, I'm too busy for you. But what my children do, and they love to joke about this. They tease me unmercifully. Is they're like, "So, mom, can you send me the link to your Calendly?" I've been using Calendly since 2000, since 2015. I was one of the early adopters of it. So, 2015, I had my first Calendly account, and they were like, "Ooh, send me a link. I want to book time with mom." And so we would practice. So that was one of the things that started off as a little thing. It was a choice on my part of I wanted to be available to my children. I wanted to be able to constantly be in their lives. I loved my kids. I really enjoyed spending time with them. But at the same time, you still have to run the business. And so they would look at my calendar, and I made my, this was back in 2016, we made my business calendar available to them so that they could see what mom was doing. So whether if it was orange, I was doing this, if it was blue, I was doing that. So they were aware very early on. So when they went to high school, they would talk about the family calendar, and the kids were like, "You have a family calendar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the only time we can visit with mom." And people really started to feel sorry for them because they're like, "You have to book an appointment with your mom," but they didn't realize that it was part of the fun. It was kind of gamified for us.
Well, it allows you to give focused attention.
Oh,
A
yes.
lot of people are running around very distracted. One of the the benefit of the new world is also the downside of the new world, right? Not being able, feeling like you're not being able to escape from your phone, which is the direct connection in with your business. But then the flip side of that, having access to your business from your phone. So when you have time, right? So it's very interesting. Now, you had several topics, and there's a couple of the topics I just love. Like obviously podcasting, I believe
Yeah.
very strongly in podcasting, folks. Podcasting is projected to be a $98.5 billion industry by 2028. And I believe that number is actually low. I think that number is
Mhm.
actually conservative. Um, and I've been doing nothing but researching in this space literally from I decided last November I want to get my podcast inside of 12 months to in the top 10% globally. And I'm at I think I'm ranging right about 14% right now. So I'm getting pretty
Mhm.
close, folks. But that's taken a lot of learning. But I think what's really pressing on me, and I really like this, you have a topic that is money, and it's not just for rich people. And it talks about the journey of abundance. And recently, 3 days ago, I had somebody suggest that I read, which I'm listening to, is Deepak Chopra's Seven Laws of Success. And it really talks about the psychology into understanding that your success at a career, a job, is actually only one of those seven. So I'd like to actually dive in a little bit to this because I know with the pressures people are facing right now. So if you made $80,000 a year last year, you need to make another $480 a month this year to buy the same groceries and live in the same, standard of living. So let's talk about this. I want to unpack this because I like how you positioned this. I'm just going to turn it over to you. Talk to me.
Okay. All right. So the book Money, It's Not Just for Rich People, I'm going to put a little context around it. That book was written because of my students. At the time, 2005, I was a adjunct college professor at a liberal arts college, and I was the science and math program for that little college. And what was fascinating was I was noticing how my students' grades were starting to drop toward the end of the semester, and realized they were starving. They were literally like eating ramen, and they were cup of noodles, stuff like that that had no really good elements for it. And so their grades were starting to tank because they were running out of money. And so I decided, okay, I had read so much stuff on money. I had made a lot of commitments to myself and my family. And so I started this debt free living sort of process. Well, there were a lot of people that hit in 2005, and I could go through a lot of really good people. But just know that I started reaching out to those amazing people that were being supported by Wells Fargo, and they had all these big events, and Susie Orman and others that made their debut at that time because we went through another kind of similar inflationary thing back in 2005. And that's why we had all these amazing people come into the business. So what I like to share with you is it doesn't matter what program or what system you're on, just follow it to the letter. And and if it resonates with you. So people used to say, well, Janine, I don't want to come to your workshops. I want to go to Susie Orman's because she resonates with me. And I'm like, I don't care. Trust me, we have enough debt and we have enough people in debt in North America that I don't care who you listen to, who you go to, but follow someone's program and follow it to the letter until you start getting the results you want. And if you don't get the results you want, email them and ask for help. And we had
Yeah.
David, oh, I just lost Financial Peace University. Oh, David Bach was the one that had the latte factor, but there was another David Ramsey. There we go. I knew
Yeah.
it'd come to me. David Ramsey
Ramsey.
came out with Financial Peace University, and he was like the Walmart of financial help because it was like for $99 you could get on this program and blah blah blah. Now, it doesn't matter to me. There's a lot of good teachers out there. We have somebody that actually works in my area in the same county. His name is Mr. Mustache Money, and he and I work together. And he does the financial planning part, and I do this. So to help your people, the biggest thing is just to make the decision that you will not go into debt for your business. You will not go into debt for your children. You will not go into debt. Just I will not go into debt. That just needs to be the big thing. Now, I'm not talking about your home or your car, because those sorts are what they call leveraged loans, or yeah, you have secured loans.
Yeah, they're
What we're
backed.
Yeah, they're backed. So what we're talking about though is we're talking about credit card debt, student loans, all that kind of stuff. And there are a surprising number of young people that are going to college and using credit cards to pay for it. And this is a devastating way to start your life. And so we work
Yeah.
with them on how to get that leverage. So just wanted to put that out. We can talk about mindset, we can talk about lifestyle, we can talk about all these things, but really it comes down to this decision. I am no longer going to live a life in debt, period. And
Yeah.
then you make all your decisions from that statement that you make to yourself.
And that is a pledge. That is a pledge to
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. So when we're making that pledge, now let's flip this from the scenario of youth, unencumbered youth, and flip this to our resignation generation. 36-year-old woman raising 2 kids, husband's taken off, right? Maybe not paying child support, maybe paying a bit of child support. I know this happens to a lot of women. She is trying to find her grounding underneath her, and now she's in the gig economy. She is in the side hustle. She is building an online program. She's doing something like that. Because you've done it all,
Mm.
what would be kind of your thoughts around her working to live an unencumbered financial life, working to build opportunity? Because, I mean, you've done it not on one platform, not on 2 platforms. You've built this literally on 4 different verticals
Mhm.
in 12 books, and you've got multiple courses coming in. So like it's literally Henry Ford. I'd rather have 1% of 100 people effort than 100% of just one, right? Or
Mhm.
myself.
Mm.
So what would be your thought around there? Because I mean,
Right.
you've got
I
such great
understand.
insight.
Well, first of all, to that 36-year-old single mom, I would say it's okay when you wake up at 2:30 in the morning and you're crying and you don't know why. It's okay. Calm down. I've been there. And if you wake up instead, it's 3:30 in the morning and you're having an anxiety attack, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the sheer volume of decisions that you are asked to make in a day. So, first of all, if you're having trouble sleeping, just relax. It's okay, and get up and figure out what you can do to calm yourself down, what you can do to feel better each moment. Now, when it comes to the finances and how do you move forward with all of this, realize everything's going to be okay. And I don't care if you have to say that to yourself and you don't even know how that's going to be okay, but I want you to find your girlfriends and surround yourself with them and make sure that you have somebody on task that when you say, I'm having a moment, they say, it's all going to work out. And you're going to go, I have no idea how. And your friend's going to go, I don't know either, but I'm here for you. And we're going to do this together and we're going to figure it out. Sometimes the anxiety as a single mother is so high that you're just through the roof. And I want to let you know, there have been days where I have woke up at 3:30 in the morning and I just started sobbing. And literally one side of my brain, because I'm highly analytical, one side of my brain's going, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And the other's like, I don't know, but it's terrible. And you're just sobbing. So I want to acknowledge that first, because I don't think we talk about that. And it's not necessary for us to dive into the why we're doing it. I just want to let you know that's very perfectly normal with what's going on in the world today, because nobody knows. This is unprecedented. They keep trying to bring us back to the Spanish flu, or they keep trying to bring us back to this is what happened with the plague, and stuff like that. And it's like nobody knows how this is going to affect all of us moving forward. So if you have a little bit of anxiety, guess what? You're normal. And I just want to let you know that. Now, when it comes to all the other fun things that may be going on in your world, I would recommend, for starters, you put a little post-it note somewhere in your room or in your life that says, things are always working out for me. And that become your new mantra. How's your four-legged? He wants attention.
I know. I am so sorry.
No,
And,
that's
my
if it's not
daughter's pinging me for a ride. The dog is barking downstairs, and I don't have any wine. So I'm just sitting here going, seriously? And you know what? I guarantee you the four-legged is running around with the two-legged, the husband. And those two, I don't know.
having a great time. They're having a great time tonight.
Have you seen online? My husband was just killing himself laughing. People are cutting the watermelons and making masks out of them and putting them on their dogs. So, needless to say, you'll be seeing that on my feed soon, because I had to go out and get a watermelon the next day. Here you go.
Let's see how this
Halloween.
Let's see how this works out for us, honey.
So, Janine, walk us through what you do. So you have, like I said, you are in, I believe, 4 verticals. So you deal with the podcasting, you deal with money, you deal with spirituality, and you deal with entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs and authorpreneurs. Yeah, I have a specialty in authorpreneurs. Yeah.
So walk me through everything, because I think it really does validate everything you've just said, because you really are very rounded as to what you have worked to put in place.
Okay. For starters, you have to know what you want. That sounds simple, but please realize back in 2015, when I had to walk away from a 30-year marriage to my college sweetheart, and he still lives only 2 miles away from us. We're still friends, but there was quite a lot of turmoil. So realize in 2015, my life was changed. And I had to make a plan. And it's very important that you find a way to take an hour or however long you can, because I know with young children, sometimes it's difficult to get 15 minutes. What you need to do is know what you want. And I chose to use a vision board. And I know vision boards get like, ooh, boo, vision boards.
I love vision boards.
I've had students of mine who say, I don't like vision boards. They don't work. I was like, how do you know? Because I haven't had a vision board that didn't work for me. So it just depends on what you're doing, but you have to know what you want. I know that sounds really, really simple, but it's not. What do you want your life? And it's not, what do you want your life to look like? No. What do you want your life to feel like? Because as women, we have to feel like our life is in motion and progressing and moving forward in some way. And I know you want me to talk about my pillars, but literally I'm answering your question, believe it or not, very directly. That I sat down and there was a period of about 2 weeks where I was in analysis paralysis. I had so much happening and so much going on that I was just sitting there going, I don't know. I couldn't make any more decisions, because between the divorce and the move across the country and getting my kids into various homeschooling events and enrichment programs, and I figure I was probably making anywhere from 40 to about 55,000 decisions a day. And so I was kind of maxed out. My RAM drive could not spin any faster. So if you're in that place, the most important thing for you to do at this moment is to realize that you're already maxed out. Find a way to give yourself relief. And what I chose to do was I would sit every morning with a cup of cocoa. I'm a coffee hound. I enjoy coffee, but I would sit with cocoa because that was a comfort food. And I wasn't allowed to do anything, and I wasn't allowed to think. All I was allowed to do was watch the sunrise and drink my cocoa. And if I felt myself starting to span out to go anywhere, I'd force myself back in. So a lot of our moms have to have something like that first before we can do anything else with them, because of the sheer volume of information they're having to process and decisions that they're having to make for their families. So you brought up the 36-year-old single mom. I'm talking to that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if your life's in a little bit more control than that, just realize I know that's where I started. But then it's take control of your calendar. The most precious resource you have is your health and your time. So if you're not in control of your time, then figure out where the kids are driving the hours, where your boss and your maybe 3 jobs you're running are taking care of your hours, and realize that's what you have to work with. So relax and say, okay, start from there. And so I start with a vision board, which is the future, where I'm going, what I want my life to feel like for myself. I'm really not too interested in things because I really just want my family around me, right? So it's like, what do I want my life to look like? Okay, so now that that's done, then you get your calendar out and you go, okay, I have maybe 30 minutes a day that I can squeeze out just for me. And it's in those 30 minutes a day where I am sitting there relaxing and I'm allowing myself to dream. And those are the things that I did to start the process of doing the 4 verticals. Now, the 4 verticals kind of came in on their own because I kept having people ask me questions. So I go, okay, I'll write a book on that. I'd write a book. And then the next thing I know, this vertical happened for me. So I hope that answers your question. But literally, it comes down to I had to answer the question of, what do I want? And that was very difficult for me because after 30 years of marriage, it was always, I don't ever remember asking that question of myself. But I was like, okay, what do I want? What do I want my life to feel like? Create the vision board, take control of my calendar. Those are the 4 most important things that people can do for themselves.
And I think take control of your calendar is one of the hardest things for women, because a lot of times we don't want to say no.
Hmm.
We're afraid we're not going to get asked back,
Hmm.
or we're afraid that we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. And I think that that's really important. I just had to make a hard call this past week because I have so much going on right now because I'm in full build mode. One of my girlfriends is getting ready to retire, and I'm building this just, when are you going to retire? And I said, well, once I get this done and then I turn 60, I've got this plan. So check in with me at 72.
Right. But
But, you know,
that's really it. This is a very powerful time for women over 55. It's a very powerful time. Or I'll even go down to 45. It depends on where they are with the resignation and everything. It used to be when a woman hit 50 to 55, that's when she really felt coming into her power. But with the resignations and stuff, it's happening younger. And so, older women, it's important for us to coach the younger ones on, look, this is the time of your life. Literally, this is the time when you can kick butt and take names, and don't let anybody tell you differently.
and the beauty of it is with, we're starting to see like emergence of women entrepreneurs in third world countries on mass levels, like India. So the numbers are outstanding, what's happening
Mhm,
in India. And it's all because of this. So if you
mhm.
learn to leverage this properly, right? And that comes down to your time and your content and stuff. I will say one of the things that I learned as of, I would say about 6 months ago, that I really like, Tony Robbins does a 90-day short-term vision. I call it my triage board.
Nice,
So
nice.
I do a 90-day triage board, and it is set up just like my vision board. And I know that these 4 quarters should lead to my 1 year. But what it does is I have my 1 year. I also have a 3 year. But my 1 year, I'm allowed to pivot and change because my 90-day is giving me a real honest to goodness view of exactly what my skill set and what the world's ready for.
Mhm.
So when it's come to that, I'm very happy with like where my family is. One of the beauties of being older and having your kids raised is that I really like Sunday dinners. I really I'm not having to clean up from somebody that's exploding from one end or the other. I or having a fight with a sibling. It's just so nice.
Mhm.
It's just the nicest thing in the world. Um, if I was to send you a person to work with, which one of your verticals is the one that's got your passion today?
Oh,
What
today?
has yeah, what's your passion today?
I really enjoy working with entrepreneurs and being able to help coach them out of whatever it is. And I'm starting to run into more and more folks who have been in the business for a long time and they're beginning to shift. And it's not that they're necessarily resigning, it's that they're actually shifting out of their one business and they're shifting to another. And I kind of coach them on how to get out of their businesses. So that seems to be what I'm doing lately is helping people move out of their businesses and get a GM in there running their business and they don't know how to systemize their business for a GM. And so that seems to be what I'm helping them do is it's always been automation and robotics for me. It's always been like how you do systems and how do you create these things so that you're not physically doing the hands-on. And I think as women, I really want to go back to the calendar thing because when it comes to our time and not saying no, let's talk about that just for a minute. And that is you are not saying no, you're saying not yet. So, and that really is powerful in my head. I'll say to somebody, I'm like, oh man, I can't do that yet. That sounds great. Can we get together? And I usually am putting people 3 to 4 months out, and they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm that engaged. And my schedule is that busy right now." Why? Because my family comes first, and I will not schedule anything over something I'm doing for a kid. And my kids also know this is the other rule. I raised my children to know that whoever gets on my calendar first wins. So if they
It's like Hunger Games over there. Dun,
It
dun, dun,
really
dun,
well,
dun.
they totally get it though. It's totally in their mindset, like, because 'cause they're like, "Okay, mom, if you come to me and it's 48 hours before an event and there's something else there, guess what? Mom's not gonna be there because I am not gonna reschedule somebody that's been on my calendar for 2 months just because you finally remembered this happening." Now, if the school changes it or something like that and we had COVID and all that, that's a little different. I'm not talking about that, but you know when your kid messes up and doesn't tell you something and then you have to bake, the joke used to be you have to bake 12 dozen cookies for the Valentine cookie exchange, right? And they
Yep.
gave you the 24 hours notice, right? That used to be the old joke. But
Yep. Well, that joke now is it needs to be gluten and nut free.
oh, and you don't know how to cook that way?
What? That's a stove? That's an oven? How do I turn that on?
Who do I know? Where's the closest gluten-free bakery, and are they still open? So those are the things that I kind of chatted with my kids about, and that also works for you. Just because you have another opportunity that's the shiny object syndrome that a lot of entrepreneurs seem to have, it's like just because it comes to you and it's an opportunity and it looks really good, you still want to honor the commitment that you made 2 months ago when the person hit your calendar. And that usually is what happens. People are like, "My God, I tried to get on your Calendly link and I had to go forward 2 months. Are you really that busy?" And I give them a screenshot of my calendar and they're like, "Holy moly." And I'm like, "I'm not joking. I have a lot going on. And I have hired 9 people to help me with it and we're thinking about bringing more people onto the team." So I'm constantly shoveling stuff off, but the cash flow has to be there. And that's where we sometimes struggle. We know we have explosive growth coming. Like you were talking in the green room about how there's not a lot that's said about owners that are right at that $100,000 mark and they're trying to kick over. And I can tell you, when I went from 100,000 to 165,000 a year, that transition was challenging and painful, but it doesn't have to be. I realized where I was trying to hold control over too many things. And once I started systemizing things, writing things out, and hiring more VAs to handle certain things, my life got better and better. And the cash flow scared me for the first 30 days. But then, because I was focused on prospecting and bringing in lead generation, because I'm the only one that can do that until I hire a sales team, and I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet until I hire that sales team. That's how it worked for me. So I hope that's helpful to your people.
And there's so many nuggets of wisdom within there. So first, document all your systems. I mean, we have little Loom videos in all of we use Trello for several different, so we have our project management going, and we have, because I'm not going to read everything. I swear, sometimes I'm like a guy putting together a barbecue, just put it together. And hopefully there's no leftover parts. But we've done that.
I know. That was the voice. I could tell that was the voice of experience there.
But make those videos, write those systems down. So when you do need, and as entrepreneurs, I think we're always evolving. I don't think I know a single entrepreneur that isn't thinking or evolving. I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is you're allowed that time and space for growth and change, and those quick pivots. We talk about women in business. So less than 3% of traditional bank funding went to women funded or women's founded new startups in 2021. So that means all these women startups also had the highest percentage of startups. All these startups were self-funded in one way or another, or there was some sort of fundraising that went in, friends and family. But that makes you run lean, and it makes you pivot fast, right? This isn't working. This isn't working. Am I married to it? No. Did I give birth to it? No. Then I think I can get rid of it. Is it my dog? No. So let's just pivot till something, is working. You're not changing your vertical. You're not changing your passion. You're not changing what your goal is. You're changing how you get there. Does that make sense?
It does to me, because I've had to do it so many times. And I know that one of the things I want to say is, when you run into statistics like that, you can have one of two responses. You can be annoyed or frustrated, or you can scream hallelujah. And when I hear that only 3% of bank loans went out to female entrepreneurs, I'm like, hallelujah. Why? Because I don't want women going into debt for their business. There are too many variables that we are all very familiar with that can cause challenges. And I mean this for startups. I'm not talking if you're somebody that's going to a bank loan and you have all the expertise and you have your own financial fund. I'm not talking about leveraging that kind of loans. Most of us, me included, are not in a position where we're playing at that level, where we have familial assets in multiple millions that we can lean on should something happen, and we're leveraging our debt. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm familiar with it, but I do not live there.
I look at it as an opportunity, right? So what else do we need to learn to do in order to properly launch these businesses? Because I'm not a man hater. I hate saying this every time. I've got wonderful boys, a lovely husband. I'm not a man hater, but it does seem that men tend to be a bit more savvy when it comes to separating their business and their finances from their personal and their home. And I think what this does is it's causing women to get a little bit more savvy, a little bit better understanding of that separation, and knowing where to take the risk and how to ask for support and funding in order to move next level. Because I'm meeting women who are inventing the coolest things, right? And real stuff, right? And
awesome.
And women, we invent stuff because it's needed, like the fire escape, like the lifeboat, like heating your vehicle, a refrigerator. These were all invented by women long before women could even vote.
Mhm.
And so, now that the age of knowledge is here, there's going to be so many opportunities that come out of this. So, real quick, before we move into why and story of resilience, I'm going to thank our sponsor for today's show. By the way, that's me, but she's awesome. You got to go to my store, queenofresilience.shop. This has got so many fun things in it. Cool t-shirts. It has all sorts of little mother hustler bags because mother hustlers get it done every time. But there's all sorts of stuff in there. So just take a peek over there. I think there's even a discount for first-time shoppers. And I believe there's free magazines and free memberships in there. So do check out queenofresilience.shop. And there's our TV. So this is Janine is one of the very first RTV t-shirt recipients in all of North America.
I am
So,
very honored to be and proudly would wear this. I can't wait to get it on the body right now, but
well,
yep,
and it's all recycled material.
yep.
So it's
That was the thing
yeah,
that's awesome. Yep.
yeah. So we try to be a little conscientious here as to what we're doing. So let's go down the path real quick of why you do all this. This is a lot of work. Most people would look at what you're building and go, I don't know. It seems like a lot of work. Why
Mhm.
are you doing this?
Mhm. Well, one of the reasons that I am doing it is because I lead by example. I don't know how to get a message across if I am not leading by example. And I don't ask anybody to do something that I myself haven't done. And so I use myself as a case study. One of the new verticals I have is we're building out the broadcast company a little bit finer, more fine tooth comb work on that. And we have several clients now where we're broadcasting their podcasts now, and we're working with companies on that. And it's one of those things where I have to use myself as a case example and say it can be done, and then I can reach back behind me and help the next person. The reason is I know I've always been a scientist and a teacher. I've always wanted to share what I knew. I know people are incredibly brilliant, and if you just give them permission to be who they really are, so that's why I'm doing it. I've always been a type of person that was what they call a servant leader. It's just one of those things I've always felt the only reason I am as good as I am in all that I do is because of a community that supported me. So I got to give back. It's a driving force in me. And what is lovely about you, Kim, and the community that you're a part of and the community I'm a part of is that we're surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, men and women who are also servant leaders, and we like gravitate toward each other. And I encourage that. And I do want to go back to the phone one bit. I'm sorry to drag us back here, but when it comes to the calendar and when it comes to your phone, it's like, do you have office hours? When it turns to 6 p.m., I turn off my computer and I walk away. Now, I made an exception for you, but that was because my kids have a movie that I'm going to go watch with them after this, and they were okay. But with that, but I just want to say I have office hours. I don't start work until a certain time, and I quit at a certain time, and that's how you keep from having burnout. And the reason I go back to that is because time is your most valuable possession. There are times I am putting in 16 to 18-hour days, but I block that out in my calendar on purpose, and I know that I'm going to do that. And you only can get to that level when you know what you want and you know why you're doing what you're doing. For me, why am I doing this? Because I want to lead by example, and I wanted to live life my way after 2015.
And I think that right there is a sentiment many are
Hmm.
carrying right now.
Hmm.
And I mean, we're seeing this in very visible, like with the Delta airline strikes. And we're seeing it, when you see top executives at Google, we're seeing this a lot. And just by you being as far in your journey, you
Hmm.
are setting an example, giving these people opportunity to shift their linear thinking around income and career to maybe there's this more varied feel to it, right?
Hmm.
Because we can have 4, 5, 6 different ways of money coming in. You don't have to have a single thing anymore. It used to be you had to have one thing, pick one thing, go do it, get your education, go do it. You do that one thing the rest of your life. But now we're seeing this whole gig economy because technology lends itself to that opportunity, right? Everybody has a zone of genius. I firmly believe it that if you know how to tie your shoes and have managed to survive to 35, you have a zone of genius. You have at least one. Maybe it is the best darn coupon clipper out there, but you have something that is unique to you. And even though, and I think this is what scares a lot of people when they think of relevancy, credibility, and confidence, the three things that stop, especially females, right? You've got time,
Right.
tech, and talent. Time, tech, and talent is on one side, and you have relevancy, confidence, and credibility on the other side, right? So these are the things that are kind of blocking going that next level. And you look at this and they go, "Oh, but somebody else is doing it." Well, Shakespeare said there's only 7 original storylines, and yet there are
Yes.
no two voices alike. I guarantee if you share how to do a podcast with somebody, it's very different than how I share to do a podcast. But at the end of the day, it both ends up out there on Spotify and iTunes. And we have, we'll have some overlapping of people listening and we'll have very different audiences. But it's there's not enough people speaking up. I truly believe that. I do not believe that we have hit a saturation point as of yet. I think we still have another. I mean, even if people scaled up the way that we're seeing coming into the leadership space and the coaching space and the speaking and authorship space, we still got another decade to go before we even hit any kind of saturation. And by the time that rolls around, half of us are going to be dead, retired, in the back of a mountain. We'll be somewhere. We won't be doing what we're doing now. So there's room
Because we
for.
will, yeah, we will have evolved and want to move into a different direction. And what I'm doing now is I'm reaching back to younger people and saying, look, I'm leaving this space, and somebody's going to need to come and fill this space. And I coach a lot of people who are in their 70s and 80s, and they're like, well, I really don't know what to do. And I'm like, you need to mentor the next generation on this. They're like, yeah, but I don't understand the tech. I'm like, yeah, but they need help with the human component. Because one of the beautiful things of us that came in through the 80s and the 90s when we were first hitting the workforce is, remember, they wrote that book, Future Shock. I always forget the name of the author. And he was talking about high tech, high touch. And one of the things we've got in spades in ours is high touch, which is why I still use direct mail with my business. I send out cards, I send out brownies, I send little gifts through the mail. Why? Because the mailbox is one of the most underused items that you can do to keep your business top of mind. I mean, chiropractors and dentists and real estate agents still use
Oh yeah,
postcards,
yeah.
right? Why? Do you guys
I'm a
just
huge.
throw money down the toilet with that?
Nope, they
No,
work. They
they
work.
work, but you have to use them right. And it's like anything else, there's a skill set involved. And so I just really encourage people to know what it is you want. That is what causes most of the strain and stress in our lives, is
Yeah.
because we don't know what we want. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the part that I will pull out and be part of something even bigger. This is my favorite part. Will you share a time with me that without resiliency, we would not be having this conversation right now?
If I had not chosen to walk away from a 30-year relationship, we would not be having this conversation. That is why I am able to work the hours I do, is I didn't realize how muted I was. I would not have written as many books. I had stopped writing. I had stopped a lot of things because of the situation that my home life had become. And one of the things that was required is that I realized the reason I write so many books, the reason I write so prolifically and have so much content, is because it was the only time I got a full sentence in without being interrupted. And I like to let women know that. How many times are you interrupted, and how many times do you see other people being interrupted? And we have the skill of listening, and that is healing to so many people who are being interrupted. And you see it everywhere. And it's one of those things that is a gift you can give others. And so the way I chose to do that is a very non-invasive way of talking to people through books, audio books, that kind of thing. So they have permission to mute me at any time they want, and it won't hurt my feelings at all. You can close the book, you can mute my book, whatever, watch my video, stop me. But when you get one-on-one with me, remember you and I had a lovely coffee conversation over that in that table, and it was delightful because you and I were both very effective listeners. And we were able to really connect deeply, even though we had a very short period of time together.
Well, I appreciate that because it is a skill set I am actively working on. And I believe it or not, doing podcasting has taught me to be a more active listener, not a passive listener, an active listener, because you got to listen to what is being said so you can make your throw to the next segment.
There's a lot that goes on in the head when you're a podcaster and you're interviewing someone. But the thing that's beautiful about it is the fact that you learn so much. And so for me, it's incredibly selfish on my
Love
part.
it.
I love being a podcaster because I learned so much from interviewing these incredible people. And what's amazing is no matter how big they are, whether they have millions of followers or their email list is 128. I just
Yep.
interviewed somebody like that. They're both the same in the sense of they both have a humility. Even the folks that are considered major influencers still are so grateful to be able to have this conversation and share what they know. It's not like what you see in a lot of other media where you see the spoiled, almost diva like mindset that's there. You're not seeing that. People like you and I see people in their realness and their authenticity. And that's a word that's bandied about a lot. But as a podcaster, if you're very authentic, it's amazing how quick your guest will become authentic. And it's a lot of fun. And it's best for the listeners that they have these real conversations as opposed to the stuff that's massaged and carefully crafted in other forms of content.
Yeah, and some content is some podcasts are carefully crafted and
Yeah. Well,
heavily
you know what, you can
edited.
tell it by
But
the way you listen to it. You can see it, you can tell.
Folks, I am not that technologically advanced, and this goes as is. I have a little thing from Canva that goes in the beginning, and I have a little thing from Canva that goes in the end. And if I didn't get it in this podcast, it's not going in. Okay, books, real quick. We got to go books. We have to talk books. You've got your 12. List all 12 that you have right now.
Oh, I could do that if I wanted to, but I'm not going to bore your listener.
What's your
It's
favorite
like
one you
asking
think
an
everybody?
author to pick between their children. There's no way.
Okay.
There's just no way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about somebody else's book.
Oh,
Okay.
there you
And
go.
that is a YouTuber that helped one of my sons who was going through horrific depression. And her name is Lily Singh. And it's Be a Triangle is the book that she just came out with. And she is somebody that suffered from serious depression. And when you look at her early YouTube works, it's this chick in her bedroom, bad lighting, all that kind of stuff. But she was depressed and she needed an expression. And so she got on YouTube and she became this big thing. And then she just kept using vision boards and she kept saying things like, I want to be with so-and-so and I want to work with Van Diesel and I want to work with, and I have watched her. It's been funny. She doesn't know me from Adam, but I know her and I've watched her grow and get better. And she got her own house and she has her own production team now. And she's just gone and gone and gone. And it just shows resiliency at a whole nother level. And I also got to see how she helped my son move from his depression and started his dream. And he is now living his dream in theater, doing Shakespearean plays, which is something he has always wanted to do. And so that's why I give a shout out to Lily Singh.
That, you know what? And I'm definitely going to look her up because she, it's interesting that YouTube could be a cry for help, right? It could be that hand that helps up. Okay. We're going to get close here because you've got a movie. What movie are you going to go watch?
I have no idea. They're picking it.
Okay. Probably Jurassic Park or something. Who knows?
Pacific Rim, something with a high kill ratio. my sons. I got 3 sons and 1 daughter. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah, I get it. Okay, real quick before we head off, I'm going to get you to share all your socials and how we can engage with you. And then I want you to take us out with a quote that inspires you even in the hard days. So where
okay.
can we find you?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn and look up Janine Bolon, and a team member will be in touch with you very quickly. And so they messaging that you will see on LinkedIn is there is a person behind the keyboard and it is all my words that they're typing in, and I have hired them to do that. And you know that from the show. The other thing is you could get on all the socials and look Janine Bolon up, but honestly, LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time. That is where I hang out, and that's where you'll get the fastest and speediest place to go. When it comes to the money thing, I highly recommend you visit the website First Response, financialfirstresponse.com. And you will not find it if you search for it. You have to type it in because we're in the Google what do they call it, penalty box for a year on our that. We got attacked by a bot in 2021, right as I was launching my 11th book. And right as we launched it, we got attacked by a bot. And so we were seen as a malicious site by Google. So we have to wait a year to get that taken care of. Please realize it's a safe site. And I don't even ask you for your email. And you have a lot of free stuff on that site and help you get out of debt. So that's the other thing. The quote, honestly, when times are really tough and I have no idea what I'm going to do next, and my brain is spinning out and I have analysis paralysis, I've got a little post it here that says, things are always working out for me.
Things are always working out for me.
Yep.
And
that's the one that helps me the most.
Put it out there. Put it out there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they say closed mouth never gets fed. And if you just put it out there, I know I heard that. I heard that. Actually, that was Lonnie Love. I heard that at a conference or an expo, and it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you don't speak it, how can you expect it?
Mm-hmm.
So, Janine, I thank you so much for the gift of your time tonight. You are one
Yeah.
of my favorite people
Oh.
that I have had the honor and pleasure of getting to know through my journey in podcasting, and just as woman to woman surviving kids and making life happen. So I appreciate that. And you know what, folks? If you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging just a wee bit, be sure to listen and lean in to our resilient community. You can get your free gift at resilientgift.com. This is going to give you 100% access. I'm not asking for credit cards. There's no sneaky renewals. There's no nothing. We have a monthly magazine. We tell you who's coming up on the live streams, who's been dropped on the podcast. And I think this month we even had a spiked pink lemonade recipe. I mean, come on. That's just like the best you can get.
Nice.
So until next time. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Don't forget, you can get a t-shirt, go to the shop, listen to Kim. She knows what she's talking about. Take care of yourself.
What? We got a great community here. And you know what? Again, thank you so much. Again, this is Kim Hayden with Kim Talks Resilience. Be good to yourself.